Hello everyone. We have a collision problem here and it reads a body M1 of mass 18 kilograms moving at 20 meters per second collides with another body M2 of mass 6 kilograms moving at 8 meters per second. Both bodies were initially moving in the same direction. After collision, the bodies move separately at different velocities. If the nature of the collision is perfectly elastic, calculate the final velocities of M1 and M2 after collision. Okay, so if we should sketch the diagrams, let's say we have M1, M2. This is the situation before collision. We are told that they were moving in the same direction. So M1 is 18 kilograms and M2 is 6 kilograms. The initial velocity for M1 is 20 meters per second. The initial velocity for M2 is 8 meters per second. So initially the two bodies were moving in the same direction. But after collision, we don't know how they were moving, right? What are the information that we can derive from the question? We learned that the collision is perfectly elastic. So for perfectly elastic collision, the features are the total momentum is conserved and also the total kinetic energy is conserved. Okay, total momentum is conserved means the total momentum before collision is equal to the total momentum after collision. Total kinetic energy is conserved means the total kinetic energy before collision is equal to the total kinetic energy after collision. So after collision, M1 will have a velocity, let's say V1, and M2 will have a velocity, let's say V2. For now, I am assuming that the directions are like this, okay? But it's only calculations that will tell us the true direction. If we have velocity that is positive, it means that the body maintains its direction after collision. But if we have any particular velocity that is negative, it means the direction of the body has been reversed after collision. Using the principle of conservation of linear momentum, it states that the total momentum before collision is equal to the total momentum after collision. So we can form our equation with this. For body M1, its momentum will be M1 multiplied by U1 plus for body M2, the initial velocity will be u2. This is equal to the momentum after collision for m1 will be m1 v1 plus for m2 will be m2 v2. If they do not emphasize on the direction of the body after collision, just try to maintain the positive sign. So when you have the calculation that gives negative, it means that the direction is reversed. Now substituting the values, m1 is 18 kilograms, so that is multiplied by its initial velocity, which is 20, plus m2 is 6 kilogram, that is multiplied by its initial velocity, which is 8. This is equal to m1 is 18, so multiply by v1, plus m2 is 6 multiplied by v2. 18 times 20 is 360, plus 6 times 8 is 48. This is equal to 18 times v1 is 18 v1, plus 6 times v2 is 6 v2. 360 plus 48 gives 408. This is equal to 18 v1 plus 6 v2. Now we can simplify this by dividing the entire equation by 6, because all these numbers can be divided by 6. So that will be 1 over 6 into 408 is equal to 18 v1 plus 6 v2. I'm doing this so that I can just have small numbers. Okay, so 408 divided by 6 will be 68. 18 divided by 6 will be 3 v1, plus 6 divided by 6 will be 1, so that will be just v2. I can say v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 v1, and this can serve as equation 1. Now I know that for perfectly elastic collision, kinetic energy is also conserved, so which means the total kinetic energy before collision is equal to total kinetic energy after collision. So for body M1, before collision, the kinetic energy will be half M1 U1 squared, plus for body M2, it will be half M2 U2 squared. This is equal to, for body M1, the kinetic energy after collision will be half M1 V1 squared, then plus the kinetic energy for body M2 after collision will be half M2 V2 squared. Now what I can do here is to factorize half, because it is common on both sides of the equation. So on the left side of the equation, I'll have 1 over 2 M1 U1 squared plus M2 U2 squared. This is equal to, on the right side, if I factorize half again, I will have M1 V1 squared plus M2 V2 squared. So half can cancel half. Moving on, I will have m1 u1 squared plus m2 u2 squared. This is equals to m1 v1 squared plus m2 v2 squared. I can continue to substitute the values that I know. M1 is 18. The initial velocity U1 is 20, so that will be squared, plus M2 is 6 kilograms, multiplied by U2 is 8 meters per second, so it's going to be squared. This is equal to M1 is 18, V1 we don't know, so it will be times V1 squared, plus M2 is 6 times V2 we don't know, so it will be V2 squared. Now 18 times 20 squared is 7,200, plus 6 times 8 squared is 384. This is equal to 18 times V1 squared is 18 V1 squared, plus 6 times V2 squared is 6 V2 squared. 7,200 plus 384 gives 7584. This is equal to 18 V1 squared plus 6 V2 squared. Again, I can simplify this to a small number by dividing the entire equation by 6, because all these numbers are divisible by 6. So let's say 1 over 6 into 7584 is equals to 18 V1 squared plus 6 V2 squared. Okay, so 7584 divided by 6 is 1264. This is equal to 18 divided by 6 is 3 V1 squared plus 6 divided by 6 is 1. So that will just give me V2 squared. This can be equation 2. Now I can substitute equation 1 into equation 2. Remember, equation 1 is V2 is equals to 68 minus 3 V1. So substituting equation 1 into 2, we're going to have 1264 is equals to 3 V1 squared plus V2 is 68 minus 3 V1. 68 minus 3 V1, then that will be squared. Now, this should be 1264 is equals to 3 V1 squared plus 68 minus 3 V1 squared means having 68 minus 3 V1 multiplied by itself. So we're going to have 68 minus 3 V1 multiplied by 68 minus 3 V1. How do you do the expansion when you have this kind of expression? You first take this number in the first bracket, multiply by whatever you have in the second bracket, then take this second expression here and multiply by all that you have in the second bracket. We're going to have 1264 is equals to 3 V1 squared plus, if I should take this 68 in the first bracket, then multiply by the expression in the second bracket is 68 minus 3 V1. Then I will use the negative 3 V1 and multiply by whatever I have in the second bracket. with that, it means you have multiplied everything. Okay, so that will be 68 minus 3 V1. So continuing, we're going to have 1264 is equals to 3 V1 squared plus 68 times 68 is 4624. 4624. Then we'll have 68 multiplied by negative 3 V1. That will be negative 204 V1. Then negative 3 V1 multiplied by 68 is also negative 204 V1. Then finally negative 3 V1 multiplied by negative 3 V1, that gives positive 9 V1 squared. Moving on, we have 1264 is equal to 3 V1 squared plus 4624. Negative 204 V1 minus 204 V1 gives negative 408 V1, then plus 9 V1 squared. If I collect like terms, I will have 1264 is equals to 3 V1 squared plus 9 V1 squared, then negative 408 V1 plus 4624. So that will be 1264 is equals to 12 V1 squared minus 408 V1 plus 4624. This is going to look like a quadratic equation, but a quadratic equation is equal to 0. So I can make this 0 by bringing 1264 to the other side of the equation. So I will have 12 V1 squared minus 408 V1 plus 4624 minus 1264 is equal to 0. So that is 0 is equals to 12 V1 squared minus 408 V1, 4624 minus 1264. That gives positive 3360. So this can be said 12 V1 squared minus 408 V1 plus 3360 is equal to 0. Standard quadratic equation. Now to simplify this, because I don't want to use large numbers, I can divide both sides by 12. So this can be 1 over 12 into 12 V1 squared minus 408 V1 plus 3360 is equal to 0. And what I will have V1 squared minus 408 divided by 12 is 34. That will be 34 V1 plus 3360 divided by 12 is 280 is equals to 0 divided by 12 is just 0. 0. This is a quadratic equation. So if you compare it with the quadratic formula, which is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, a will be equal to 1, because if there is no number in front of a coefficient is 1. B will be equals to negative 34, and C will be equal to 280. V1 will be equal to X. So if I want to find V1, I have to use the quadratic formula. So V1 is equals to the quadratic formula. If you can recall it, is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So v1 will be minus, b is minus 34 plus or minus the square root of b1 is negative 34 squared minus 4 multiplied by a is 1, c is 280 divided by 2 multiplied by a is 1. So I will have v1 is equals to negative times negative will be positive, so that will be positive 34 plus or minus the square root of negative 34 squared is positive 1156 minus 4 times 1 times 280, that will be 1120 divided by 2 times 1 is 2. So v1 is equals to 34 plus or minus the square root of 1156 minus 1120 divided by 2. So v1 is equals to 34 plus or minus the square root of 1156 minus 1120 is 36 divided by 2. Then we'll have v1 is equals to 34 plus or minus the square root of 36 is 6 divided by 2. Then we can separate this as v1 is equals to 34 plus 6 over 2 if we are considering positive sign, or v1 is equals to 34 minus 6 divided by 2. So v1 will be 34 plus 6, that is 40 divided by 2. Then we'll have v1 is equals to 20 meters per second. In the other way, 34 minus 6 is 28. So v1 will be 28 divided by 2, and v1 will be 28 divided by 2 is 14. So we'll have 14 meters per second. That is v1. So the two possible values for v1 is 20 meters per second or 14 meters per second. But from equation 1, what do we say? Equation 1 is v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 v1. v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 v1. So if v1 is equals to 20, then v2 will be 68 minus 3 into 20 when you substitute the value. So v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 times 20 is 60. So v2 will be 8 meters per second if v1 is 20 meters per second. All right. So again, using v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 v1, if v1 is 14 meters per second, then we'll have v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 into 14. v2 is equals to 68 minus 3 times 14 is 42. So v2 will be 68 minus 42, that is 26 meters per second. So the final velocity for V1 is either 20 meters per second or 14 meters per second. The final velocity for V2 is either 8 meters per second or 26 meters per second. That is all for today. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and hit on the notification bell so that whenever new videos are uploaded, you can have the chance to watch them.